The views and opinions expressed by the guests, callers, and hosts on this and all Rense Radio Network programs do not necessarily reflect or agree with those of the network, its commercial sponsors, its radio station affiliates, or internet broadcast platforms. In these controversial times, we believe the First Amendment and freedom of the press are absolutely essential to the survival of our nation. Thank you. And now, enjoy the program.
Welcome back. It's a hot one out here in the West. It's supposed to be 107 tomorrow, which is too hot too early. I don't know where you are, and hopefully it's not that hot. We're going to go back to the beautiful historic town, and if there's ever another constitutional convention, they may not have the facilities for it, but it really ought to be held in Kingston, New York. And I can name one man who I'd like to see named as the presiding officer of such an event, the Speaker of the House, so to speak, Mr. Gerald Celente. Welcome back, Gerald. Thanks for being here on this Monday.
Thanks for having me. Always great being on with you, Jeff.
I was wondering about the weather back there, but we have lots of other news. Let me just touch on this Ukraine situation. As I think most of you know, Vladimir Putin has been under a tremendous amount of pressure, shall we say, from literally around the world to do something to stop the slaughter, the genocide, and we have more than one genocide going on, that's for sure right now, in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian military, hardly inept, but they did manage to lob a couple of artillery shells into Russia, killed one man, a father of four, blew his arm off, he was dead on the porch, injured two others, and the Russians said there would be repercussions. Well, today, a Ukrainian Air Force transport plane, an A-26, was shot down over Lugansk. The crew of four managed to parachute out, were captured by separatist fighters. Plane crashed. Ukraine is screaming bloody murder, which is kind of hilarious because of what they've been doing lately. And then we look a little further south of the map, so to speak, and we see what's going on in Gaza. Now, for sure, the entire world is disgusted. I don't have words for what's going on, but remember, folks, this isn't the first time. They did this in 2009 to the Palestinians. Remember the white phosphorus? They're using other kinds of weapons as well. And let me ask you the punchline question, then I'll shut up. Where do you think the Israelis got those bombs and munitions? And who, as a follow-up question, do you think paid for them? Think about it. All right, sir, the floor is yours.
You know, on Ukraine, I have to tell you, I'm a bit, you know, each weekday night we do Trends in the News.
Yeah.
And I've been asking the question, where's Putin? And he had said early on when the Ukraine situation was really spinning out of control back at the end of 2013 and around during the Olympics in February of 2014, that he would protect the Russian people.
He said it again 3 weeks ago, Gerald. I had the quote.
And nothing has happened. So
no.
I have to I have to, it always goes back to me about money. And who knows what's going on behind the scenes and what deals are being made. And so, because it's out of control over there, and as we had written, as it was happening, it would devolve into a civil war. And basically, there's no end in sight.
No.
And these people are not going to fold up and say, okay, you can take over and run our lives. And again, the people that are in power in Kiev are, by all accounts, they're basically neo-Nazis, a good portion of them. So
they're thugs,
the
they're punks, they're sock puppets, they're billionaire. I won't use the word. They're just scum.
Oh yeah, the billionaire Poroshenko, of course.
Yeah.
And and again, by the way, if you look at his history, he goes with who's ever in power. This guy, he's played the game since the breakup of the former Soviet Union.
Yep.
So he's not. Again, it goes back to money, and then going on to the atrocity in what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. The news I came up with a line today in Trends in the News. Our clothing, our consumer goods are made in China. Our news is made in Israel. I watch the mainstream news, and it is disgusting.
It's embarrassing.
Every time, you know who the Israelis are bombing. Well, they killed about over 200 Palestinians already, and thousands of others wounded.
They killed over 800 in 2009, by the way. Over 800.
Yeah, well, they'll get up there. They'll give them a couple more weeks.
There you go.
And you know who they're killing.
Of course.
They're bombing Hamas militants.
Oh, sure.
But they're always militants.
It's amazing how those 5-year-old kids can be militants.
Any side that the United States is against is a militant.
Absolutely.
Or a terrorist. Yeah. Matter of fact, what's going on in Ukraine, the Ukrainian government is claiming that they're killing Eastern Russian militant / terrorists. The terrorists. So they throw these labels on.
Insurgents.
Now, where's all the outrage about what's going on over there with, as you point out, our money going to mass murder? Well, I'm going to tell you something, Jeff. The way this is going, the Palestinians may become something like, that Indian tribe that nobody ever heard of anymore because they were all wiped out.
Wounded Knee.
And that they're on the verge of extinction.
You got it. I do believe that's what this is the beginning of the final push to genocide those people physically or literally out of Gaza and out of Greater Israel and into Jordan or northern Egypt. I think they're going to go into Gaza. There's a very good chance, literally with their vaunted bulldozers, and level essentially the whole city. And the people will have nowhere to go, and they will be forced to march and walk out of there. I think that's a possibility. They want them out.
Yeah, I really do. I can see, again, when you think back of all of those names that no longer exist.
That's right.
Of all the tribes
60 million of them.
For example, right in this country.
Yep. 60 million.
So I could really see something like that happening.
I think that's the plan. Avigdor Lieberman is a maniac. Netanyahu is right there, cheek by jowl with him. These people are killers. Did you see the story about the Facebook exultation that the Israelis, not all Israelis, but many of the reactionary right-wing Israelis are spewing on Facebook and Twitter? They're talking about how they're having orgasms when the little children are being blown to pieces. It's sick. These people are not normal humans.
You can pick up any paper, and they will all talk about the rockets that are flying into Israel.
Yeah.
We had a bigger 4th of July demonstration over here in Kingston than the size of these rockets. And nobody's been killed. These are bottle rockets. You fight back with anything that you have. Meanwhile, they're dropping tons of explosives all over Gaza. And it's being, and then again, you see the ones from ABC, where they're talking about the bombings going on in Israel, and Fox, and they're saying militants strike Israel, and they're showing photos of Palestinians and Gaza and making it look like it's Israel.
They got caught,
I mean,
too.
Goebbels, this is Goebbels grade propaganda, and they're getting away with it.
Yep. One time.
And most of the Americans, you know, they make you hate Muslims and Islam really easily.
That's true.
And that's where the Americans' minds don't go any further than that.
I was going to talk a little later about the quality of the American mind. We'll get to that. I think you're more than 100% correct. The American mind really stops and starts with talking heads on CNN and Fox, or Hannity, or O'Reilly, or any of the other idiots out there. That's where most people get their what they think is news. The BBC is being slammed for its obvious bias. But what's going on over there is more depleted uranium, advanced weapons that are illegal under international charter that are being used on these people. And I really do believe this is going to be the final push to level Gaza and force them out of there. We'll see soon enough. Let's go ahead through this break, Scott, Todd, and turn me up a little bit to Gerald, if you would. This really bothers me. Anyone with a soul or a heart cannot look at this and not be moved. Even if the coverage is slanted, they know they can read numbers, and they've got to understand that what's going on there is being done essentially out of their wallets, and by their silence, by our silence, we allow. And we're allowing this administration to support those killers, and that's what they are. And there are a lot of Israelis who don't approve of this. We got to remember them too. But this is genocide, the same thing as in Ukraine. Another thing about Ukraine, but while we bounce back and forth between these two horrible situations, the city of Slavyansk, which I believe has a population of a little over 100,000, fell to the Ukraine military, which is mostly mercenary. These are outsiders, special forces people. And you know what happened the day after Slavyansk fell, folks? Do you remember? Nobody talks about it. All the men in the city, ages 21 to 35, were rounded up and taken out of the city in trucks. They were taken to camps called processing camps. We may never see those people again. Remember Katian Forest? Remember the mass murders of ISIS in Iraq? This is ugly stuff, folks. And Putin has an 11th hour chance to come in and save his reputation. Because 3 times, as Gerald pointed out, 3 times Vladimir Putin promised that we will not allow military action to be taken against Russian-speaking peoples or Russian peoples in the east of Ukraine. We will not allow it. And 3 times he has broken that vow. Sergei Lavrov made the same statement. So that's 4 statements now, going back just before the first of the year. And the most recent, 3 weeks ago. We will see. If Putin moves into Ukraine, in my view, Gerald, the world will applaud. He will have nothing to worry about. There will not be World War III if he moves in there and sections that country off. The slaughter has been clear. The justification is all there.
Yeah, what I think will happen is that when you say the world, we're led to believe that the world is the United States and Europe. If you go to websites such as the People's Daily, Global Times, and other Chinese
the Straits Times, any of them.
Yeah,
sure.
They hardly mention what's going on in Ukraine or between Israel and Palestine. So the news that we're going to get is going to be trumped up in any event. And again, when they say that the world is basically a couple of countries out of NATO and the United States. The rest of the world really doesn't care that much about it. And so, but I really think there's something else going on behind the scenes that has to do with dollars, you know?
Always.
And it always comes down to that at the bottom line.
Ukraine owes Gazprom right now $5.8 billion in back payments on natural gas.